Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
And cries of cover-up have long echoed through the Roman Catholic Church from survivors of child sexual abuse. Well, today in Rome, bishops convened at the Vatican for a summit on the subject hosted by the Pope. Perhaps the most significant thing is that it is happening at all. The Pope, who has been under pressure, I think it's fair to say, for struggling to confront the issue, said God's people wanted more than condemnation. They want concrete action, he said.
The Vatican is feeling the pressure, there is no doubt about that. After decades of abuse, of scandals in country after country, for the 190 senior churchmen making their way towards St. Peter's today, this may be the last chance to act. Amid claims the Church tolerated abuse, covered it up, protected paedophile priests, Pope Francis must win this battle against the conservatives in his ranks. Let us listen to the cry of the little ones who plead for justice, he said. They expect not predictable condemnations, but concrete and effective measures. The Vatican is aware that things are going to have to change, not least because these scandals have been going on for so long and so little action has been taken, that people are beginning to ask how much longer is the Church going to be allowed to police itself? Peter Saunders was abused as a boy by Jesuit priests. He worked with a papal commission on this issue before resigning in frustration that so little was happening. This time, he believes, only one man can force change in the Church.
The Pope is the key person here. He can change the rules. The new rules is zero tolerance, not just the word zero tolerance, but zero tolerance in practice.
He has tried to reform the Church and come up with considerable resistance. Do you think there's resistance to what you're suggesting?
I think there is a lot of resistance to what we are suggesting, and there shouldn't be resistance because we're talking about protecting children. The Archbishop of Westminster is at this conference one of those who insists they'll be pushing for reform, to give the Pope the authority to enforce change on every branch of his Church.
Is the Catholic Church serious about this?
The Catholic Church is very serious about this because the damage done in childhood sexual abuse stays with a person for the rest of their life.
Do you understand, though, why people are cynical?
Well, I can understand that the seemingly ceaseless flow of facts and events from the past is very demoralising. These are not easy matters, but we're very, very clear that we have to tackle them, and we will.
Peter Saunders joined fellow survivors of abuse at a vigil near St. Peter's this evening. They will be here throughout this four-day gathering to keep the pressure on the 180 men and just 10 women inside. Much is hoped for. They believe Pope Francis wants real change, but if he can't get it now, the Catholic Church may be in real trouble. James Mates, News at 10, the Vatican.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview. With me tonight, Emily Sheffield and Brendan O'Neill. We're going to turn to talk about the Pope. This is Inside the Times next, page 2 of the Times, and a special summit that they're holding in the Vatican to address the appalling issue of sexual abuse in the Church. And
I don't think you can call it anything other than a crisis because the figures are fairly horrific. Just to give a little bit of background, the Church produced its own report in 2004 which condemned 4,000 US Roman Catholic priests for sexual abuse. A 2009 report found abuse endemic in Irish Catholic-run schools and orphanages. A 5-year inquiry in 2017 found tens of thousands of children had been abused in Catholic churches in Australia. So we are talking big numbers here. And when Pope Francis succeeded Pope Benedict had silenced a lot of this abuse and had not taken any action really against any of the priests or the bishops. Everyone thought that Pope Francis would be more open to dealing with this, but in fact, he hasn't. He was not what people hoped for, and the crisis has continued. Even last year, he was in Chile, and I believe he accused victims of slandering bishops, which is a fairly outrageous thing to say.
And he was forced to apologise for that, wasn't he?
He was forced to apologise, and 34 bishops then did stand down in Chile. But what we have seen since that is a bit of a volte-face by him. He does seem to now be trying to deal with this problem at last. Yeah. It's certainly not enough, and what was happening today was there, as it says, there were 190 cardinals and bishops were there at the start of this 4-day event, and the event started with victims on big screens talking directly to them about their abuse.
It's hard to tell if it's enough yet, because he's come up with 21 proposals for dealing with this culture of abuse. It's not quite clear what they all are, although one of them includes compelling priests to tell the civil authorities if there are suspicions of abuse, which could potentially break the confessional seal and force the church to do things that they might not previously have done.
And also condemnation isn't enough, action needs to be taken.
Yes, action is his big thing.
Because they were condemning within the Vatican and within the church, but these priests and bishops were often staying within positions of power,
or being moved around.
And they were being moved around. They certainly weren't facing any police charges, were they?
OK, so it's wait and see and get more details of what the points are.
Well, I think whatever he gives, the victims, it's important to note, are calling for zero tolerance. So if any priest is found of sexually abusing a child and a bishop has protected them, they want them out.
OK.
And I feel like quite a lot of people are going to support that. And I think a lot of Catholics deserve this, actually, because they feel that their own church has become toxic.